Imagine driving across a bridge so high that clouds form beneath you. A bridge suspended over 2,000 feet above a canyon floor, nearly twice the height of the Eiffel Tower, where the river below looks more like a silver thread than water. This isn't a CGI concept or a future proposal, it's real. And it was just opened in September in one of the most remote and rugged regions of China. The brand new Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge has become the highest bridge ever constructed. A structure so tall and so ambitious that it redefines what a road can even be. But the real story isn't just the height or the engineering, or the fact that it crosses a canyon as deep as a skyscraper is tall. The real story is why China built this here, in a province once considered impossible to cross, where mountains slice through the landscape like stone waves, and where crossing a valley used to take 90 minutes of winding cliff roads, until a single 1-minute drive changed everything. Today, we're diving into the world's highest bridge, how engineers built a road into the sky, and why this mega project might be the boldest chapter yet in China's push to connect its most extreme landscapes. So, what exactly is this thing? On paper, the Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge is a 1.8-mile suspension bridge, built to carry the Luji-Anlong Expressway across one of the deepest gorges in the Guizhou Province. But in reality, it's closer to a floating highway, a road stretched across empty air, now fully open. The headline statistic is almost unbelievable. Over 2,000 feet from the bridge deck to the canyon floor, making it the highest road bridge in the world the moment it was completed. Just to put this into perspective, it's nearly 650 feet higher than the tip of the Empire State Building. And it's tall enough that clouds regularly drift between the road and the river. But height isn't the only record here. The main span, the distance between the two giant towers, measures over 2,650 feet, longer than the Humber Bridge in the UK, which held the world record for 17 years. To support that kind of distance without a single pillar in the canyon, engineers had to design two colossal towers, 860 feet tall on one side, 670 feet tall on the other, both anchored directly into mountainsides. And then there are the cables, two steel giants each weighing over 9,000 tons, draped across the gorge like metallic spider silk. Together they hold up a deck long enough to park more than 25 Boeing 747s end to end. But what really separates this bridge from every other high-elevation mega project is what's happening around the structure. Hidden inside the deck is a massive steel truss system built to handle extreme mountain winds. Beneath the roadway runs a high-tech access corridor that visitors can actually walk through. And deep inside each tower, there are elevator shafts that climb nearly 656 feet straight into the sky. This isn't just a crossing, it's an elevated platform, an entirely new layer of infrastructure built above one of the most rugged landscapes on Earth. And that brings us to the real question. Why did China build something this dramatic here of all places? Well, because the bridge isn't just a record breaker, it's a key piece in a much bigger story about a region that was once considered impossible to cross, and a country determined to redesign it anyway. To understand why the Huajiang Bridge even exists, you have to understand the region it was built in. Guizhou Province, one of the most dramatic, unpredictable, and historically isolated landscapes on the planet. Guizhou isn't just mountains scattered across a province. Guizhou is mountains. Over 92% of the land is made up of cliffs, gorges, and knife-edge ridges. The ground doesn't really sit still. It folds, drops, twists, and splits like someone crumpled a continent by hand. This is China's karst heartland, a place where soft limestone dissolves over millions of years into alien landscapes. Vast underground caverns, sudden sinkholes, vertical cliffs, and canyons so deep that sunlight barely reaches the bottom. The Huajiang Grand Canyon is one of the most extreme examples, a mile-long fracture in the earth where walls drop straight down. and the terrain swings wildly between monsoon rain, sudden fog, and violent canyon winds. For centuries, the province was considered unbuildable. An old expression described it perfectly: no 3 days without rain, no 3 fields without a mountain, and no 3 coins in anyone's pocket. Roads washed out, footpaths clung to cliffs. Entire villages lived and died without ever seeing the valley next door. Even in the 1970s, when the Chinese government finally built the region's first major road, local villagers famously mistook government vehicles for strange animals and tried to feed their engines straw, because cars simply didn't exist out there. Today, the province has more high bridges than the rest of the world combined, over 250 of them and counting. And that's where the Huajiang Bridge fits in. It's part of a massive national effort to pull China's most extreme, most rugged province into the modern era by connecting mountain city to mountain city through engineering instead of terrain. The Huajiang Bridge is the boldest piece yet, the one designed to leap over a canyon that once forced people to drive 90 minutes around it, and turn that into a 1-minute glide through the open sky. But the region isn't the only challenge. Building any suspension bridge is difficult. Building one in a canyon where the ground drops away almost vertically on both sides, that's something else entirely. The bridge didn't start with steel or cables. It started with finding a place to stand. Both tower sites sit on near vertical mountainsides, which meant engineers had to carve foundations directly into the rock. They drilled deep into the mountain layers, reinforcing them with high-strength steel, so the towers would behave less like man-made structures and more like extensions of the cliffs themselves. But the terrain wasn't the only enemy. Guizhou's canyon winds routinely hit 50 to 70 miles per hour, with storm gusts pushing past 90, and the region experiences wild temperature swings. From summer highs near 95 degrees Fahrenheit to winter drops around 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Steel expands and contracts, wind hits from multiple angles, fog could freeze onto equipment within minutes. All of this meant the bridge couldn't just be strong, it had to adapt. Then came the biggest challenge, assembling a bridge deck in midair. Since no crane on Earth could reach across the canyon, the team used a cable-carried construction system. Essentially, 2 steel tight ropes stretched over the void. Giant deck segments were floated across the gorge and positioned with millimeter-level accuracy, using China's Beidou satellite system, real-time sensors, and cameras feeding into a control room perched on the mountainside. And once those segments were in place, they had to survive those brutal canyon winds. Engineers designed a deep steel truss spine beneath the roadway, a structure that doesn't just resist crosswinds, it channels them through the frame, allowing the deck to flex and breathe during temperature swings or sudden gusts without losing stability. Every part of the build, the drilling, the anchoring, the suspended assembly, the wind-shaping trusses, was dictated not by ambition but by the canyon itself. This landscape forced engineers to invent as much as they constructed, turning the entire project into a battle between design and environment. These environmental challenges explain why this bridge had to be designed the way it was. And they also explain something else, why China chose to turn it into more than just a highway. On paper, the Huajiang Bridge exists to solve a transportation problem. In reality, China didn't just build a record-breaking bridge, they built a destination, a full-scale attraction suspended in the sky. Because once the engineers realized what they were creating, a structure taller than skyscrapers, taller than almost every man-made object on Earth, the question became, why should cars be the only ones allowed to experience this? So the bridge was redesigned with a second purpose, to pull visitors deep into one of China's least explored regions, and turn an engineering marvel into an economic engine. And tourism is not an afterthought here. It's baked directly into the structure. The first clue is the visitor center, a massive complex built beside the bridge. Before you ever step onto the highway, you can walk through construction exhibits, canyon geology displays, and models showing how the bridge was assembled, almost like a museum built around something that's still brand new. Then comes the part no other bridge on Earth has, a glass elevator mounted to the tower itself. Visitors can ride 590 feet up the South Tower and step out into a cafe and viewing platform that hangs over the canyon. You're literally standing above a bridge that's already taller than most skyscrapers. And if that isn't wild enough, the real attraction is hidden under the deck. Inside the truss structure, normally the part no one ever sees, China built a 2,600-foot skywalk. Tourists can walk inside the bridge watching cars pass overhead, while the canyon opens below their feet. Some rooms have glass floors, some are built for stargazing at night, some overlook waterfalls, cliffs, and mist rolling through the gorge. And at the farthest point from the land sits the world's highest bungee jump. This is why the bridge needed reinforced trusses and heavier structural supports. It wasn't just built for traffic, it was built for people, thousands of them. The regional government knew what they were doing. A highway transforming travel and a tourist attraction transforming an entire region. For a province once known as the land of mountains and demons, a bridge like this isn't just a shortcut, it's a spotlight. And this isn't even the last twist in the story, because to understand why China invested so much into a single canyon crossing, you need to understand the road it belongs to and the bigger national strategy behind it. From a distance, the Huajiang Bridge looks almost impossible, a thread of steel suspended between mountains so steep they barely seem climbable. But up close, it's much more than a record-breaking structure. It's a symbol of what modern engineering can do. A reminder that the hardest places to build are often the ones worth connecting. And a preview of how infrastructure can reshape entire regions. Not just economically, but culturally, socially, and technologically. In a province once defined by isolation, a bridge like this means access, opportunity, and a future no longer limited by geography. And for China, it represents something even bigger, the belief that if the landscape doesn't cooperate, you engineer a new one. But what do you think? Would you travel here and drive across the highest bridge on Earth? Or better yet, would you try one of the world's tallest bungee jumps? Let us know in the comments, and if you love deep dives into the world's most extreme mega projects, from sky-high bridges to billion-dollar engineering gambles, make sure to subscribe.